we've also got some exciting things happening this week, as in the release of the permanent opponents when when the SEC goes to a 9-game schedule. None of this is official, but it has been put out by On3. So we're going to say it's unofficially official, and give them credit and or blame if we are wrong. But I kind of disappointed in how this shook out for my team personally, but let's go down the list. All right. So Alabama has Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. I think Auburn and Tennessee are no-brainers there. Is anybody surprised by the Mississippi State?
I mean, I don't think I hate it because I mean, I remember they had some pretty good games back when Dak was at State. That was actually a bit of a rivalry when State was good, so I don't hate that. I'm not necessarily sure who I would have rather seen for Alabama because obviously with this sort of format, people are going to get left off of other teams' lists.
Right.
So I'm not overly shocked by it, but it won't be a big high profile matchup every year. You wouldn't think.
All right, Missouri. They've got Arkansas, A&M, and Oklahoma. I feel like all of those make sense from a geographical standpoint. And I mean, they're not a team that has been in the SEC all that long. I guess, 15 years at this point. And I mean, that probably tracks, right, TJ?
Yeah, I froze for a second, so that might be on me.
Okay. I was just asking you, Missouri, Arkansas, A&M, and Oklahoma. Those track, right?
Yeah, I think they make sense. I would have loved to see A&M in this, but I understand with the rivalry, just because they came over at the same time, that would have been the one that I would have
A&M
wanted
is
to add.
on this list. Arkansas, A&M, and Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm an idiot. I can't
That's
hear.
okay.
But yeah, I like this. I like this for them.
Arkansas has Missouri, Texas, which I'm pretty sure Texas and Arkansas is an original.
I like this one.
Rivalry. And then LSU, which also is another one of Arkansas's actual traditional opponents. Will, you good with that one?
Yeah, Arkansas looks good. I think Arkansas and Missouri, they pretty much nailed.
Yeah. Oklahoma's got Missouri, Ole Miss, Texas. I obviously Oklahoma, Texas makes perfect sense. Missouri because of geographical, I think that tracks. What about Oklahoma, Ole Miss though?
It just doesn't do anything for me at all.
Yeah.
Although I like so I will say this. I like the contrasting styles of offense and defense here. So maybe that's fun. But I mean, how long are these coaches going to both be,
We're hoping Ole Miss has a different coach next year.
But yeah, this does nothing for me. This feels like a weird one where you just needed an extra team, and so that's what you threw in.
Auburn up next, Alabama and Georgia. I think we could have picked those absolutely. And Vandy is their last one, which I guess, if you're getting Alabama and Georgia, you kind of want a bone, but I don't know if Clark Lee's Vanderbilt is the bone that they were thinking when they made this schedule.
Yeah, from where I'm sitting, I would have loved to see Auburn LSU be a protected game, but to your point, if Auburn got Bama, Georgia, and LSU as annual opponents, that would not be fair. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, some of these, not on this one specifically, but some of these are very much just like, okay, we got to give them a bad opponent too.
And that's how I feel about Florida's, which we will be getting to in a moment. Let's look at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, which that's a no-brainer. That's your in-state, rival. LSU and Oklahoma. This is that's a pretty great slate for them, right? I don't love the Oklahoma Ole Miss, but I love the LSU and the Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I mean, I think to TJ's point about Oklahoma Ole Miss being, chess versus checkers is pretty interesting.
Okay, so Florida. This one I don't love.
I think Florida sucks. If I'm being honest.
Florida, Georgia, that's a smart one. But South Carolina and Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee not being a protected one with the rivalry that has been over the last, 50 years. Disappoints me. I understand you couldn't have Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. That would be a hell of a gauntlet. But if I got to pick, that would be the three that I, as a Florida fan, care the absolute most about. Maybe then Kentucky, and then after that, South Carolina. So I just don't think that I don't know. I don't love this for Florida.
I think for Florida, I mean, maybe I should let Will go first here, being the Florida fan, but I do think for Florida, like, well, I mean, the alternatives were to make theirs incredibly difficult. So, like,
Correct.
I'm not trying to make you love it or whatever because I hate it for UF too. But like, what do you want to add? Like, do you want to take South Carolina, Kentucky off and add it with Tennessee? You
Yes.
know, do you
I
want
would
to take
actually take South Carolina off and add Tennessee.
yeah
Yes.
South Carolina off and add LSU, which would have been a
Yes.
fun one? But like, yeah, but
Exactly.
I don't know, man. Like, I think they wanted the schedule balancing. I think it actually works out really well for Florida from a scheduling standpoint. Like, Florida is easy to me. It's just not fun. Not
Yeah.
easy. Georgia's still there for sure, but like, it's easier than it could have been. Tennessee LSU is much more difficult.
Yeah.
So like, Florida should have. I mean, just being honest. Sorry, Beamer and Stoops, but like, Florida should have 2 wins every year with these annual opponents.
Will, what you think?
Yeah, competitively, this is a major upgrade from what Florida's been playing the past few years. But obviously, entertainment-wise, like no Tennessee every year hurts, no LSU every year hurts. I knew it was a long shot. I was kind of hoping they might throw Florida Auburn because that used to be a good rivalry
Oh,
that
that is
hasn't
a
really
great one.
that just hasn't happened. But yes, I think both points are true. Where you're losing some big traditional games, they're gonna be missed. But at the same time, if they gave Florida Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee, people would be in an outrage saying Florida can't catch a break. It's all these tough teams. So I do think it's a decent balance. But I think to your point, Allie, taking out Carolina and putting in the Vols would probably be a nice middle.
How
Well,
about this?
go ahead.
The other thing that is nice, and this applies to everybody, not just Florida. What is nice is the way they're doing the scheduling is I would imagine you're going to play Tennessee every other year, and
Yes.
you're going to play or Tennessee or LSU every year. Like now that's not guaranteed or anything like that,
Sure.
but it is nice the way they're rotating it to where you're going to play people every other year, and that's kind of nice, right? Like
Somehow,
you're
when they
gonna play
start
more
that,
people
though,
more
Florida will
often.
start with Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Um, that is just
I hope
the
it's game. I hope it's game one of whatever season this is 26. I hope it's the
oh,
opening weekend.
I probably will be. All right, let's move on to South Carolina. They got Georgia, Florida, and Kentucky. Uh, that's a decently hard schedule for them. They've got both Florida and Georgia. Kentucky, obviously, they should beat, but they don't necessarily every year. So South Carolina got a hard draw there. Will.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not overly moved by any of those games, but I can't really name many South Carolina rivalries where it's like back and forth every year, blood everywhere. Like it, South Carolina, it's fine. But yeah, I did not the easiest draw for the Gamecocks, but
That
there should be some decently competitive games.
I did have a thought that I wonder if, when they took these things into consideration, like Florida's, like South Carolina's, are they factoring in the fact that they have an in-state opponent who is out of conference, who is generally good every single
Mhm.
year? Florida will continue to play Florida State every year. It's mandated in the state of Florida. Florida State is good. That's going to make the schedule already a tick harder than some of these other schools that don't have an in-state opponent that is out of conference. And it's the same thing for South Carolina with Clemson.
And
So I do,
Kentucky, yeah,
yeah,
Kentucky too. Kentucky has
and
Florida and
Louisville.
South Carolina here with Louisville, and I mean Georgia has South Carolina and Florida too. So they all have a couple of them. All 4 of them have 2, which is
yeah.
kind of
So
interesting.
yeah, I do find that interesting. Move on to
I,
Georgia. They
I,
did.
I will say one more
Go
thing
ahead.
on South Carolina. I would have rather seen Missouri on theirs. I think the South Carolina Missouri, and I know that game just happened this weekend. That rivalry has been a lot of fun
Yeah.
Mhm.
over the year. And like Will was talking, like, and I was trying to rack my brain, like, yeah, who are South Carolina's rivals? And I actually think back to like Spurrier and Muschamp being at both of them and thinking that was kind of fun. But South Carolina Missouri was one that I thought would be a little bit surprising, I guess, that it's not there.
Yeah. Georgia drew Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina. I think the Georgia Auburn makes perfect sense. I guess they couldn't really do Georgia. I mean, they couldn't do Auburn, Florida, and Alabama, which would probably be what Georgia fans would want if they're talking about their top 3 rivals. So they threw South Carolina in there. But there have been some interesting Georgia South Carolina games over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the one team missing off is also probably Tennessee,
And see,
but
Yeah.
to the
Oh,
same point, yeah, you can't give all these teams their 3 biggest rivals who are always top 15 teams because that's
yeah.
just
And
unfair.
there's some overlap between them too. And so
Mhm.
it is impossible, but I don't have to like it. Tennessee got Alabama, which, that's the third week of October. special, right? That any of us that have been watching the SEC for a long time know that that is an important weekend for both those schools. And then they got Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt makes sense because I think that's who we bill as their in-state rival. Although I don't know that rival is really a fair thing to call that matchup. But they play it the last weekend of the college football season, all as though it is a rivalry. And then they got Kentucky. Tennessee fans probably aren't pumped about this one.
I actually think they nailed it. I think this is a pretty good teams, three pretty good matchups against teams that I'd be willing to say are rivals for Tennessee. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, Kentucky and Vanderbilt in theory is kind of a boring pair of games, but I think tradition wise, they actually did a really good job with Tennessee's.
Yeah, I
The
just
only
love
thing I would have added would be the Florida game.
Florida game.
To me,
Yeah, I
the
love
Florida
Tennessee
Tennessee not
Auburn
happening
too.
is
I think
big.
that's
Yeah.
fun. But all right, Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina. From a Kentucky standpoint, I feel like they kind of nailed theirs.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, Florida and Tennessee is not the easiest 1-2. South Carolina's up and down, but I mean, it's Kentucky, so I think they did a good job.
Yeah, do something and then we'll adjust yours.
Texas has A&M, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Again, this is not a traditional SEC school, so you're kind of, looking around here. A&M was a rival from an in-state rival, but also a previous conference rival. That tracks. Oklahoma, obviously, same reason, and then Arkansas, for geography's sake, I think makes perfect sense. And I like that they weren't trying to create a rivalry where there isn't one, like giving Alabama, Georgia, or I mean, excuse me, Texas, Georgia, or Texas, Alabama would have been great for TV ratings, but there is no historical context for it. So I do kind of like that they were true to rivalries when they determine these, as opposed to just what would be great ratings.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Texas didn't really get stuck with I think I would say like not a perennial power in the league. Like A&M's always good. Oklahoma's rising, but didn't get stuck with a perennial power. But they're obviously going to play them every other year. So I think you're totally right. I think they did a good job with the annual opponents being regional and traditional. But yeah, everything else is going to get mixed in.
I wonder if Texas fans are like, "Damn, we left the Big 12 on purpose, and now here we
Oh, a
are
couple of
playing
Big
the Big
12 teams.
12 within the SEC." All right, LSU. We've talked about this with the other matchups that they're in, but LSU has Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. These are also traditional rivalries, but there is nothing in that like really floors me.
I can't believe Bama's not on here. And I know that Bama already has, but
The
like,
amount of good LSU
yeah,
the games we've seen over the last 25 years.
when I think about, when the Bama rivalry started, so like what, 04, 05, and then obviously Saban moved over, like, when I think about the best games in the SEC for the last 20 years, the ones that come to my mind, and I know there's been good stuff outside of this, but it's LSU Alabama, and it is that rivalry. That is what for a long
for the West for a decade.
And the East was very down for a long time. I know Florida, mid to late 2000s was really good, but when the East was so down, it was who wins the Alabama, and more times than not, it was Alabama, but it was who wins the Alabama LSU game that is going to go win the conference.
For a national championship after we saw it for an SEC championship.
That is probably the most disappointing thing to me of the entire schedule release. It's the fact that we won't get Alabama LSU every year. I can live with Florida, and I know you guys are Florida fans, but I can live without Florida Tennessee because that just hasn't been a nationally relevant rivalry for a while. I can live without Georgia Auburn, or no, that is happening. Sorry, I can live without some of the other stuff that's not on here. Alabama LSU not being on here to me, and again, maybe they just couldn't make it work, but that one sucks to not have.
Yeah, I agree. Texas A&M has LSU, Missouri, Texas. Again, those all make sense. That LSU, LSU, Texas A&M rivalry, it predates, the SEC conference. What our thoughts on that? They hit that one pretty much.
I think I like A&M's. I wish that they had put Arkansas on there because I love that Jerry World game. But I get those will have it every now and then, obviously. But I do think that they did a good job with A&M's 3.
Mississippi State's got Ole Miss. You could call that one Vandy. So they just decided to put the worst two teams in the conference together. And then Mississippi State has Alabama. Outside of the in-state rivals, I don't know that this one does literally anything for me. But I don't know that there's a whole lot Mississippi State does that really does anything for me.
No, yeah, you're totally right.
And then Vanderbilt, Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. We already talked about why I think Mississippi State is paired with Vanderbilt. That Tennessee Vanderbilt is that in-state rivalry. And then they've got Auburn, which I do find that interesting. I mean, Auburn's probably happy that it's
Regionality? Is that the
yeah,
only
it's
thing
gotta
there?
be.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, isn't that like totally random? I just want to make sure I wasn't outdated by a rivalry or anything, but that does feel weird.
Yeah. I don't know that I love this. Although I don't know that I wanted the job of figuring out who got each
Yeah.
team because I think I'd have like 6 teams with incredible stack schedules and then the rest of the conference with games that make no sense, but it's just where I stuck them because I picked the games I wanted to see. So I don't envy this at all. This will get released officially later in the week. So if it ends up being completely wrong,
Blame on 3. No,
blame on
I love this. Listen, I don't care about the SEC. I don't care about ESPN. I don't like they hype up these announcements so that we have to tune into a show. And now I don't love people that like leak draft picks right before they
no.
have like so. But this is different to me.
Yeah.
I love that Chris Lowe did this. This is so good
Mhm.
to scoop them. And people in those SEC and ESPN offices have to just be
So
livid so I'm all for the petty. So I love that he did this. I'm sure it's right. If not, maybe Alabama LSU does find its way on here. But I do trust him a ton, a guy that literally worked for ESPN 3 weeks ago. I love this. So shout out to Chris Lowe and
we just saved you
Shannon
an hour
Perry
of
for
your life
grabbing him.
too.
Say that again.
I said we just saved everybody an hour of their life too. I feel like every time these announcements come on,
Oh,
it's at
I'm
like
not watching
7
that
o'clock,
now.
it's during my kids' bedtime and bath time, and I'm trying to watch on my phone and pay attention, but also like read the story, do all the things. So like
And
this
the
is
timing was great. Chris must have known that we were live right now, and he didn't
really,
want us to have to get back together on Tuesday night to talk about it. So this was great timing by him.
yeah. I shout out Chris Lowe for helping us out here.